Where's got dinner planned?
All right, we're good.
No, 8 o'clock.
What?
No, one of my students said the same thing. I looked it up today. It said it was planned.
For what? I was guessing COVID, I don't know.
Huh?
I hadn't heard that.
A student did tell me that today. That's not very nice of them.
ESPN's still showing it starts at 8.
Is our meeting ready to start?
That's official.
We're ready to go, man.
That's new business.
Yeah.
All right, 6 p.m. We'll call the regular village board meeting to order. If you'd all please join me in a moment of silence. And tonight, if you would keep Dustin Patterson, one of our general foreman's family, in mind as he lost his stepfather last week. I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you take the roll, please?
Trustee Mao. Present. Trustee Ferguson. Trustee Charo.
Present.
Trustee Detmers.
Here.
Trustee Gerger.
Here.
Trustee Fletcher. Present. Mayor Kimsey.
Present. Public announcements. I would like to recognize our finance department. This afternoon, we were notified by the Government Finance Officers Association that again for, I believe it's 3 years in a row now, that our most recent budget was recognized with the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, which is a pretty strenuous review and a significant amount of criteria focused on public disclosure, the ability to explain what we're doing as a village, how we manage our finances, and what our plans going forward. So kudos to Kayla and her team for putting that together and all the work that goes into that. Any public comment on agenda topics? Hearing none, entertain a motion to put the consent agenda on the table.
Make that motion.
Trustee Miles made a motion, second.
Second.
Second by Trustee Charo. Discussion regarding the warrants or the minutes. Hearing none, Mr. Clerk.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Detmers.
Yes.
Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Fletcher.
Yes.
No old business. Item 1 under new business is a resolution approving the purchase of police vehicles. I have a motion to bring this to the floor.
Make that motion.
Trustee Miles made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Trustee Charo. This is a not to exceed price of $122,000 on three vehicles for the police department. Any discussion?
Only thing I'd like to thank, Chief, thanks for the call to explain some things, and I appreciate it.
Yep. Second that.
For the public, this is replacing the 3 trucks that we had originally tried to purchase, but can't seem to find them anywhere. Okay.
All right, Mr. Clerk.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Detmers.
Yes.
Trustee Fletcher. Yes. Trustee Gerger.
Yes.
Trustee Mao.
Yes.
All right. Public comments on village business, and we can take your comments now if you would like to take the time rather than wait, because we can't start our next meeting until 6:15. So if you guys would like to go ahead.
Absolutely, President. Thank you to you and the board for giving us some time here to present our proposal. As said before, we had sent an updated copy of the proposal with some clarifications on what those numbers, that 4 million number and the 200,000 number were. One represents the revenue portion, the other represents the sales tax remittance portion. So I apologize, the owner of the discount liquor and BP had a family emergency, can't make it, so we do have a representation here for him. But, you know, basically we are interested in working. We have a relationship with Samshire, Sargahia, for video gaming, to establish video gaming per the discretion of the village board at the discount liquor. And really what happened was the end result was this proposal, and the beginning was kind of a talk of how can we engage with the village board, have a collaborative approach to make that happen. We came across in researched the TG Tavern Gaming license and really put together, I think, a sound proposal that shows that the Tavern Gaming license would fit well with the discount liquor. In kind of my research and discussions, I've kind of found out that there may be some issues in relation to video gaming per se and businesses being able to continue having video gaming per the regulations, the local regulations here in Chatham. And coming from a state government background, right, I understand government bureaucracy and how hectic it can be for our businesses, our residents, everyone basically involved in the process. And, you know, within your roles, I'm sure you're always looking to try and cut red tape and streamline that process, be strong for business and help support small businesses. This request is basically taking his package license, which is just a Class P package license, and converting it over into a tavern gaming license. So basically, what that would take would be a separate room within the liquor store that would have the tavern gaming license associated with it. And within the tavern gaming license, it's still an effect to have packaged liquor as well. We believe that we can take that room and have a very kind of expansive game setting there, where we would be able to have the games. They would be spread apart. It'd be completely secure and separate from the liquor store itself. And the build out of that would be, you know, completely funded, of course, by Samship. Basically, we put some renderings together here. You can take a look at those. You know, it's really simple when we're actually putting together something like this. The way it's set up, it really is set up really well for this type of activity to occur in the liquor store. Now, I understand it's an odd request, asking for a on-premise consumption license for a liquor store. However, you know, we've all seen what's happened the last couple of years. Businesses are struggling, and whether they're restaurants, gas stations, liquor stores, they've all been hit by COVID. You think about people not going to work, right? People not on the roads. Our supply chain is all screwed up now because of COVID, and that has long-term ramifications, not just for the truckers on the road or people in the supply chain, but the actual gas stations supplying the gas, right? And we've seen with licensed truck stop establishments in the state of Illinois, for instance, a number of them not have their gaming renewed because they didn't meet the 1 million diesel that they're supposed to get per month. So that in itself kind of brings us to think outside the box for these small businesses. In this situation, we have Shamsir, who already has established gaming in Livingston. He is a reputable operator with no issues at that store. He is asking for gaming at this location to continue being a reputable operator in Chatham and reinvesting back in Chatham. So getting really quickly to the numbers, we put together an economic snapshot of Mr. Sargabahia's businesses. Businesses plural, the VP and the discount liquor. Just to show what he is currently providing the village of Chatham in terms of revenue. $20,000 in annual property taxes to the village of Chatham. $4 million in sales revenue itself for both of those businesses, and $200,000 in combined sales tax revenue to the village of Chatham and state of Illinois. We think that these are strong strong factors to show the village board to prove that, you know, when Shamsir took that property over, it was a $2 million investment and build out to build out corner back into a corner that people are going and engaging commerce in. And we think that a smart move would be to reinvest back in there, taking Shamshire's private investment and then reinvesting back in there in the form of gaming to bring more people in there to engage in commerce in that area as well. The projected municipal gaming snapshot, what we did here is we took the most recent report from the Illinois Gaming Board, which just shows a profile of the Chatham video gaming establishments. And of course, you can see that more when you zoom in within the digital copies than you can see here. But 10 establishments, 55 VGTs, monthly income that all of those were pulling from December to January was $290,000 before taxes, obviously. And then the total municipal share being $14,500. So basically, these are numbers that are directly taken from the Illinois Gaming Board. It's just trying to show a picture of what currently the Village of Chatham is receiving in terms of tax revenue from their video gaming establishments, and then just seeking to conservatively estimate what could be coming to them with this location. So in my conversation, I had a conversation with one of the trustees who brought up an issue that I want to be completely transparent about. In the economic enhancement factors, we are saying 2,500 is the net terminal income, the 5% of monthly estimated. We state that as an upfront revenue, but obviously that's not going to occur after a month until that go live has happened, that actual location is live and raising funds. So if you don't want to classify that as upfront, that is fine. But keep in mind that the $2,500 monthly NTI, net terminal income, very conservatively estimated based on the geographic factors, the type of location, and comparing it with the municipal snapshot. We would hope that it would outperform those numbers by a lot, but we're taking that into context. Another thing I wanted to point out was the $150. That was off of the $25, and I was not aware that you guys have begun to change that per the new state law. So obviously that would be a little bit higher. That would be at the $1,500 level, $250 per machine. So just wanted to be transparent about that. But I understand, right, the president pointed out your accolades with your financial stewardship. I understand that revenue is not going to be the biggest determinant for you guys to either give an up or down on this proposal. But what I think is going to be strong to sell this is not only helping small businesses, helping somebody who's been involved in the community, been around here, investing in the community for a long period of time, but also there's a lot to be said to show the community that gaming can happen without the burdensome regulation that could exist, right? Our goal is to set an example by licensing a sound establishment here in Chatham that has a reputable establishment owner that has experience showing the community that gaming can be done responsibly here, and it could be done very successfully here. And we're interested in engaging many municipalities throughout the state about these issues. Video gaming is probably one of the best examples of a public-private partnership that ever existed in Illinois. $3 billion over the last 10 years has gone to the state of Illinois and gone to village governments throughout Illinois. And that money goes directly to fund our capital program. It goes directly to fund our projects, our roads, our bridges, our park district projects, things that our community and residents really rely on. So that is why I personally gravitated from a state government public service background into this type of background where I can use my skills to grow this public-private partnership, because I think it it has been very successful. To that end, we measure success touching on the most important facet of our proposal, which is making sure that we are completely compliant with that tavern gaming license. And I know it might be a potential discussion item in the future to take a look at that and maybe unwind some regulation regarding video gaming, but right now we're applying for this license and we fully believe that success is only measured by an uptick in growth to our essential business that they're providing at Discount Liquor. The packaged liquor itself, the tobacco, the lottery, and non-alcoholic food items. All of those things completely outshare what we're expecting, what Shamshare is expecting from video gaming. And that's how we're going to measure success, is not only being compliant with the tavern gaming license, but also using this to grow the actual general business, not the ancillary business of video gaming. Touching on a little bit of training and compliance, we formalized this relationship with Shamshare, with us as Prairie State Gaming. The owner of our company at Prairie State is Penn National Gaming. We are the only terminal operator that has such a relationship with an extremely reputable large casino. Therefore, we are kind of set ourselves apart from most other terminal operators in our training and compliance standards, not only with marketing, but with just making sure that everyone involved in the enterprise is Bassett certified, that the location is completely above board in terms of preventing minors there, preventing any type of untoward activity, and really making sure that we're following all the training and compliance standards. And we have a very dynamic team of account management that oversees that process and works directly with the owner. Now, here's something really great, because Shamshare has experience. He gets it, and he's been selling packaged liquor at both of those stores. He understands what it takes to have that level of compliance, and fully is engaged in that process. The conclusion here, I guess, would be, simply put, we're looking for a collaborative approach here. We know that we may not, win every heart and mind over with this proposal, but this is, if that is the case, we're looking to start a discussion on this and talk more, and talk about how, from our standpoint at Prairie State Gaming, how we can answer questions about the gaming industry at large, how we can communicate to you on what we see as working in other municipalities, what's not working in other municipalities. For instance, the issue of affixing a percentage to, you have to have X amount of percent, in this case 25%, right, has to be from those other general business items to define what your business is. That makes a lot of sense. But the problem with that, and it's the problem that Moline is facing, Galesburg, other municipalities around this region, is that when you're measuring it with those defined percentages, you can't really honestly measure that because in an equal footing, because when somebody goes into a video gaming establishment and puts a $4 into the machine, they either choose to play again or not. It's a continuous transaction. So there's more opportunity for money to be made by the business, by the terminal operator, by the village in that standard. Whereas that same person or another person could go into that same business, order a burger, sit down, have a drink, not game at all, and be done. So to compare those equally is kind of, I wouldn't say it's inaccurate, but it's not taking the most accurate data and applying it to what you guys want to do, which is to determine, which businesses are going to be primary video gaming establishments, and if so, what are the real concerns around those businesses? So I think as you start to think more about this proposal and other proposals that may come, you know, we want to be a collaborative partner in that and answer any questions and, you know, sort of just be in a good communication with you all on this issue. And I thank everyone for their time, and, you know, I'm happy to answer any questions, talk about anything else.
If I can,
Hang on, for the benefit of our clerk, can you give him your name?
Yes,
I've got it.
Oh, you got it?
yeah, sorry about that. My name is Marty McCall.
We all thought that was right, but I just wanted to make sure that we got it in.
if I could make a statement.
Yeah.
So I just, in full disclosure, this is my employer, Prairie State Gaming, so I will be recusing myself on a vote on this or discussion of this, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for the thorough presentation. It's certainly a reputable business, and I believe it can be done right in that location.
And the reason that we had them come this evening is like in the past, you have to pay for a permit and then go through the process. We have not had them do that yet because the way that it works in the Village of Chatham, the board votes to create a license. The mayor issues that license. So right now, all of our licenses are taken. If you want to create a new license, we have the ability to do that, and we can prepare an ordinance for the next meeting. But we'd love to have at least some kind of indication whether it's worthwhile for them to fill out a permit.
So are these going to be two separate, because you have economic enhancement, the new license fee. Are you going to have a packaged liquor license, and then that small room will have the tavern license? Is that what you're looking to do?
That would be cleaner, I think.
So-
Don't you think, Greg?
Yeah, if that's how they want to go.
So then your 25% probably would just be what's sold in that room.
Yeah, that's was going to be my follow-up point, is the way our code is written now, it applies to the license, so that 25% would be what's sold in the room.
Right. And so that would be, because I was confused if you were just changing license, the enhancement would just be $200 because you currently pay $800. But if you're going to have two licenses, then it would be the $800 and the $1,000.
Well, with all due respect, trustee, I read that ordinance differently on the tavern gaming. I read it as on-premise or off-premise consumption.
Right, but
It's that right there.
Correct, but it would have to come out of that room.
discount liquor is entity A, and discount liquor gaming is entity B. If you're seeking two separate licenses, the package sales made under P, under discount liquor, wouldn't count towards satisfying the need of the tavern gaming license.
Because our current bars or taverns just have the tavern license. So you can purchase it and take it with you if it's in its original packaging, just like it is in your main store. But they don't have two licenses, so that all of their stuff counts.
So converting your P to a TG gives you a better opportunity to satisfy that.
And current tavern licenses allow package sales.
Yes.
So
That's what I'm.
that's not out of the norm, that if you turn around and give them the license for essentially the liquor store, that liquor store license would actually change to a tavern license, and they'd still be able to sell package and do.
Right. Converting a P to a TG.
Correct.
Correct.
So that's what my point was. If you got two entities, I don't know that
Yeah,
it would meet.
we're just seeking to do a conversion from the package to the TG.
So one license, so then the enhancement there would be 200, which is irrelevant, but just to clarify the numbers, it would be 200. And then the sticker fees would bump up to 1,500.
It would, if that's, you're collecting $250.
$250 now.
Yep, gotcha.
And 5% of the monthly NTI, you're estimating conservatively at $2,500. That would put you the second most profitable VTGs in the city. Because if you look at your observation from December through January, there's only one entity, which is a gaming parlor, that would exceed the 2,500. So appreciate your optimism there as far as what our cut of that would be, but I do believe there'll be some cannibalization of existing areas moving to your business, which is obviously good for you, but I just don't want the board to read that as a $2,500 monthly gain.
I understand that, sir. I think that these are estimates.
Sure.
To your point, they're estimates based on what we're thinking. But what we also are estimating is maybe what's not in the numbers. It's the fact that people have been bottled up at their homes. Businesses have been struggling. They have not been getting people in there. Our business has been down. We know that when we have, when we're finally through this, which I think we're pretty much there, right? People are going to repatronize, and especially when the weather starts to get nicer, I think we're going to start to see an uptick in those numbers. And largely, when you look at other municipalities across the board at this time of year, COVID, not COVID, numbers are down.
Sure, slow time.
And then the thing we have to consider is others have come before us too for this. And, even bigger businesses have come through and asked for this, and we've said no about adding a license.
Marty, I tried to find online today and yesterday I couldn't find it. Do you have any idea how many VTGs there are in Illinois?
How many VGTs themselves?
Yes.
I believe there are 7,000 locations and about 40,000 VGTs.
Cool, thanks.
Anybody else have any questions for Marty? We don't have anything on our agenda to take an official vote on this, but I would kind of ask what a general thought process is here to it. In the realm on, are you willing to explore this with them to see if there's an avenue that would allow to increase or convert, essentially decrease one category and increase a different category to make that available for them to apply for? Or is this just a flat out no, and you tell the guy, hey, don't waste your time trying to fill all this stuff out? It's probably appropriate enough.
Personally, I'd be okay with it if we had an open license, but we don't. And I don't know that I want to add licenses, because then we're going to get a lot of people coming forward for them.
Actually, you'd be converting, Brett, so we wouldn't be adding one. We would just take one off the books.
But you're adding a gaming license.
True.
We would have 11.
True.
We only have 10. So I know that there would be others, and a lot of others.
I do appreciate, Marty, I do appreciate
Agree.
Do appreciate your approach. I do very much think that Discount Liquor is being open about who they are and what they represent, obviously because of their investments in the community. So I see myself currently supporting this, mostly because of the upfront honesty and what you guys do and what you represent, and trying to support local businesses as you suggested. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I will agree. I appreciate your honesty. We've had some come before us and not be honest, so I'd lean your way a little bit for that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I know for myself, I'm here because I want to help our community grow and get better. I like to see people smile. I like people to be happy. And these things, you can't see those things, but you can feel it. And when I walk into that store, there's always one person there that always smiles at me. He might be sitting right behind you. And I'll tell you this. That's what I want in my community. I want people who want to take care of others. To me, this is something that can help your guys' business grow, and establish, an area that you don't have right now. And there's a need for it because people are going. I see 10 places right here. I'm not smart enough to know if people come into the liquor store, but if it's an opportunity that you guys think is going to work, I'm definitely open.
Okay. So I think, Marty, we have enough to work on from here. Unless you have any other questions or anything you'd like to note.
So when you say you have enough to work on, does that is that, would you like us to apply for the license, or would you just like to kind of wait and kind of have more discussions amongst yourselves?
I think that indication is go ahead and put the application
Okay.
in and we can start a process.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and like I said, it's a collaborative approach here, so any questions, concerns, comments about this proposal, what I've said here tonight, my number and information is there, so please reach out if you have any more to discuss.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Scheduled meetings has a planning commission at 6 p.m. on January 20th, the village board 6 p.m. on the 25th, the board again on February 8th, followed by the committee of the whole at 6:15 or thereafter. Utility Oversight Subcommittee, February 14th at 6. Fire and Police Commission, 16th at 5:30, and Public Properties and Recreation, March 14th at 6 p.m. No need for a closed session. We entertain a motion to adjourn the board meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Charles made a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Trustee Mao. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting stands adjourned. You're up, Dewey.
Dan, you good, Dan?
Give me 2 seconds,
Sure.
and I will be ready.
You know, next time, let me know. I'll flip that for you,
No, we're good.
however I can help.
Go ahead, Dewey.
Good evening. I'd like to call the Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Clerk Holden, could you please take roll?
Sure. Trustee Mao.
Present.
Charo.
Present.
Trustee Ferguson. Trustee Detmers.
Here.
Trustee Gerger.
Here.
Trustee Fletcher.
Present.
Village President Kimsey.
Present.
Item number 2 on the agenda, are there any public comments regarding agenda topics? Second section, consent agenda. Could I please have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Thank you. There's a motion made by Charo and seconded by Fletcher. Are there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Seeing none? Oh, voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item, no old business, item 1 under new business, CMT engineering updates.
Jim didn't have anything to report tonight.
Thank you, Max. Thank you.
We will be meeting next week to start going over projects for next year's budget. We'll also be putting together a list of items to address the ARPA funds so that you guys can review. And then once we get a staff recommendation and stuff like that, we'll give you multiple ones because there's enough money there that I think we'll be able to spread that over quite a few projects. Then we'll bring it back to the committee of the whole next month and hopefully go over that and make sure everybody's happy. I'll have the rest of the staff here to be able to answer any questions and stuff, and Jim. And then we'll start moving forward with trying to get that built into next year's budget. All right.
Any questions for CMT? Seeing none. Item number 2 under new business, the village manager update.
Well, that was a little bit of it. Another part is received a letter from the South Sangamon Water Commission. They've requested that we go enter into a intergovernmental agreement with them on allowing our water tower to pressurize their system. So when they lose power, they want us to be able to open up a valve, back pressure their system, and keep them from having to go under a boil order. So that a letter's been sent to me. I sent a copy to Greg. And together we're going to work on what needs to be in that intergovernmental agreement. And we'll have that for you guys to review at the next committee of the whole too, before you have to vote on it, okay?
Thank you. Do you have any idea if they're looking to compensate us for that?
They will pay for the valve, the installation, and the way that the valve works, Dewey, is it flows one way, it deducts. When it goes the other way, it adds. So when it's coming towards us, we would pay that, but anything that goes back the other way, it subtracts it from it. So essentially, we'd be pushing water that we just bought back from them back into their system. Now, it gets a little fuzzy because we have in the past had an agreement with the city of Springfield as a backup water supply. And currently that is expired, but we are working to get a new one with them and put that into place. If we are trying to do that, and also the South Sangamon is trying to do that, to have them as a backup water supply too. But I think the village of Chatham and the city of Springfield are closer than South Sangamon is on getting that backup water supply. So.
One of the main reasons I ask, and obviously I haven't seen the proposal, is just that, that them asking us for that makes sense. I understand why they would. I just think that the other customers of South Sangamon Water Commission should help equally. Should there be such an agreement between New Berlin and Chatham? And maybe I'm just out of line in asking that, but I think that I see SSWC as having multiple customers, and I don't want Chatham to necessarily have the burden of supporting that, but the others don't. I feel there should be some equality there, or at least some compensation. And then especially if there ends up a situation where they're out for a while, they draw our tanks down, then that means our customers are without, firstly. And then secondly, if we have Springfield coming in, what do we pay Springfield versus what are they paying us? So just, I don't remember the rates off the top of my head.
We'll put all that into
Right.
that agreement.
Right.
But
Again, I haven't seen it, but just so you know what I would be initially concerned with or question on.
all those have been discussed and will be addressed.
Thank you. And it's a closed system, so there isn't any worry about contaminating. Like, I know the electric grid, for instance, doesn't like electric coming from my house and going back out to the grid, so I assume that we'd have to consider that for the water as well.
It's a better solution with both of us being on chloramines. There's still different water sources.
Right.
But EPA knows that when you run into situations that are emergencies like this, they ask us to do specialized testing, the same thing that would be with the South Sangamon. So we will make sure that all that stuff is in place. We've worked really, really hard to get the reputation back of our water department. We do not want to do anything to risk that. Next item I had was, over the years, the village has been signing pre-annexation agreements with residents outside of the village limits, with the idea that the more of them that we get, and when they become contiguous to the village, then they automatically come into the village of Chatham by a vote on the village board. Those agreements last for 20 years, and we put a lot in place around the same 2 to 3 5-year period. Those have all expired, or a good portion of them have. So the other day, we prepared a letter and sent it to the customers that we think we still could become contiguous with, asking them to re-sign a new pre-annexation agreement. And with that, they would be able to keep the inside water rate. If they choose not to sign that pre-annexation agreement, March 1st, their water rate would switch to the outside water rate. There are a few customers that are in an area that we will never be able to annex because the city of Springfield has blocked us to be able to get up to that area. And they just received a letter saying that your pre-annexation agreement has expired and that we're going to have to switch you over to the outside water rate. So we have the rest of this month to get those to start coming back in. I've started receiving phone calls yesterday. Some people are excited to sign the pre-annexation agreement and get re-upped, hoping to get into Chatham at some time. Others that are in the outskirts and stuff, they don't think that we're going to get there. And some of them are willing to switch to the outside water rate. So,
Sorry to interject. Do you know how much of the folks where Springfield has blocked this, thus preventing them from entering? What I'm looking for is like the delta of what is the average house going to pay more with the outside rates than the inside, because my interpretation, without having a lot of background here, is that these folks wanted to join. They signed the pre-annexation agreement. They want to be a part of Chatham. It's just they've been blocked now. So I wouldn't be against you proposing that they stay on the inside rate even while being excluded, just because.
But even though we can't.
Right. Again, not because of their fault or our fault, but they've been blocked, and I think I understand why the outside rate exists. It's just it kind of stinks that they're going to get burned for that. So I would personally, I'm just one member of the board, but I would be fine with offering the inside rate.
About 8 homes.
Just so you understand the reason that I believe 20 years ago when they started to offer the inside rate as a provision with the pre-annexation agreement, and the reason why people inside the village limits get a different rate than those outside the village limits is once you're in the village, you're paying property taxes to the village. And so kind of the compensation for getting somebody to agree to annex at any point in time over 20 years in exchange for that agreement to be able to annex if we got there was this discount, and to be able to be billed as if you were already paying property taxes with the thought that at some point in the future you're not. So that's kind of where you're at. You're never going to get to the point with those that are blocked of being able to recoup that, future real estate tax gains.
No, I definitely understand that. I obviously haven't had a lot of time to think it all the way through, but again, I just feel bad for those 8 homes that,
It's 11. I counted them. There's 11.
Sure. Yeah. Again, I don't remember. I have a number in my head. I'm sure it's wrong about the delta between inside and outside. It's just, I don't know what that equates to on an average user. If it's like $10 a month, then maybe the village should compensate them on the lower rate, or if it's $1,000 a month, then maybe it's a
per
different.
1,000 gallon rate is higher, and the base fee is higher. Both of those are on the village webpage right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they are right off the top.
I'll try to apply that to my usage as being a high user, and just, again, I'm just one person. I don't know if anybody else on the board is interested in looking at this, but.
Well, the second part of that is when those folks signed annexation agreements, Rural Electric serves most of those customers, and they gave them the preferred electric rate as long as they had a pre-annexation agreement. So their electric rates may be going up too, because, and some of the folks that just decided, you know what, I'd just soon have the outside rate instead of having to sign a pre-annexation agreement. If Rural Electric asked us who were those customers, we would give them a list of these are the ones that we just switched back. So.
Do they have the option to hook to Springfield Water since they're surrounded by them?
The ones out by the ground storage tank do. There's a water line that runs right by there. I think they were Springfield customers at one time. Other ones are well out into the country.
Okay.
And by Loami Road and stuff like that. So.
Was this Lake Knowles? Was that where most of the?
North of Lake Knowles. Lake Knowles is blocking us from getting there now. The snowstorm that we had, I can't thank our employees enough on the job that they did. Guys working 16, 17 straight hours, go home, rest for about 6, come back in, do it again. All I heard was that, man, your roads are so much in better shape than the little town north of us.
And somebody actually stopped in front of my driveway, made it a point to stop their car while I was shoveling. Granted, they didn't get out and help me shovel, but did stop in the middle of all that just to tell me the same thing. So just randomly driving by, knew it was, so it's kind of.
And for the poor folks that got stuck in the middle of Mansion Road on, was it Wednesday night? And the one lady goes, "You've never been down there." And the guys, we sent 3 trucks down that thing at a time because it was drifting through so fast. And They plowed that road more than any other road in the village, because, I mean, look, you had all that empty fields to the north and the wind blowing directly out of the north. It just, as soon as you empty that out, it would just blow and fill that chute right back in, so.
I know that, and is there an agreement with the farm fields? Like, I know, for instance, north of Walnut, near the church, sometimes there were fences there on the north side of that road, and I would assume that if we were to install those fences, that the drifting would slow and the amount of time spent there might decline.
We've talked about that. We've talked about, taking branches and stuff, putting them out there in the wintertime and letting them lay there so that it hits it and then falls on the other side of it. I don't think the farmers care much for the fences, because I know that used to be the norm and I never see it anywhere anymore.
Yeah. Some spots I see, but yeah, you're right. I just wasn't sure if it's not snowing that much or as much now as it used to 10 years ago, and that's why it's fallen out of favor or whatever. But
the two spots that were always bad was Savannah would get it really, really bad because it was nothing but fields as far as you could see to the west. So when the winds came out of the southwest after a snow, it would fill Savannah in completely. And the same thing with Mansion Road.
I can tell you, I have never seen Walnut as bad as I did this year, because it was actually drifting closed.
Yeah.
And I've never seen Walnut do that.
That rain did not help us because it was wet, and when that snow come down, it turned to ice almost instantly and then put snow on top of it. I mean, you can see when you go down a lot of the side streets now, there's still big chunks of ice still sucked to the ground.
Yeah, a lot of black ice out there.
Yeah.
Barry said that, a 50,000-pound truck, he was having trouble getting traction.
Yeah.
He said it was that bad.
I saw him come around the corner at the square, and he went by the smoke shop, and the next thing I know, he's up in the yard of the smoke shop. I was like, what is he doing? And he goes, when I come around that corner, the momentum and the weight of that truck just kept pushing me, and it slid him right off the road. I was like, I had no idea. I was sitting there, I was like, what is he trying to do? Because I had never seen one of those big trucks just slide like that. But.
stay away from the train depot with fresh paint on that thing.
I don't want to get back on that ladder.
Have you guys got anything for me?
Yeah, I know this is a bad topic, but do you have a status on the HR items list?
I do not.
How about anything out at the plant with the snowstorm? Did anything get damaged or knock out or do anything crazy due to the storm?
Where?
Out at the plant?
Water plant? Not that we were made aware of.
And the last item I had was is that ARPA fund potentially what would fund the village pond up by the electric shed, or is that a different project?
That was one of the projects that we were looking at. When the ARPA funds first came out, they talked about water projects, storm sewer projects, and drainage projects. And that was essentially the only three items, along with revenue replacement and bonus pay. Then I think enough communities have gone back and asked them to revisit this, because not a lot of communities, they all got money, but they don't have a lot of those types of projects. So their final ruling is anything, as long as it was under $10 million, and we only got 1.6, anything that you purchase normally in your general fund, the ARPA funds can be used for. So now roadway repairs, bike paths, all that stuff.
Light controls? Light controls like in Park and Walnut and?
Yeah, we could update those.
So we've already received 1.6 million, is that what you're saying?
That is what we will get over the 2-year period.
4 years. Yeah, we've got the first half.
So 800.
Came in 800 something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the final ruling from Treasury allowed essentially a safe harbor revenue recognition loss that up to $10 million, you just say it's revenue loss, which significantly decreases the amount of paperwork that Kayla and our crew have to do.
Yeah.
Which is thankful, but it also expands the scope of what kind of project work you can do with it. So that's what Pat and Jim and the staff are going to start to look through and put together those lists of, here's the potentials that are out there, here's some estimates, here's what we got, which ones does the board want us to tackle?
But none of the 800 that we've already received has been spent, like it's sitting in a.
Correct.
We have to have a plan on what we're going to spend that on. And then the board has to vote for that plan.
And when do we receive the second half?
Be another year and a half, I think.
All right, thanks.
But that 800,000 with the money that we have in MFT, you do a lot. Anything else?
Not for me. You guys have anything?
No, sir.
Awesome. Item number 3 under new business is the solar policy changes. I'm not sure if Pat or Ryan want to address this.
I'm going to let Ryan do it. He's done a good job of putting this together. What happened was the state changed their rules. They're trying to make solar mower accessible to everyone. So they asked all municipalities and people to allow solar in their community, which we already had. And IMEA, which is our electric supplier, they helped us write the first program that we had here. And then they went back and were nice enough to review it and say, well, these are the things that you guys need to change. So Ryan took on the task of redlining what you guys saw on board docs of items that we need to change. You want to go over the highlights?
Talk today about the basics here. One of the things that we need to do to make sure that the public has the information that they need is making sure that we call it the right thing. Jamie Frankie over the utility office has been doing net billing. I mean, that's what she does. And we call it net metering. So what I did was I changed the application name to net billing because it's more, that's what we do. That's how it works. A couple of simple things were under section B, you can see I put in red that I want the operating power factor in AC. And the reason for that is because I've dealt with Shane Hill a lot on this. We keep a log of all of the customers that are doing the net billing that have these solar panels, these solar systems. And so we want to know what their operating power factor is in AC, because originally we could only be at 5% of the total kilowatt hours used could be used by solar panels.
So the way our ordinance is written, no more than it had to be less than 5% of our total electric usage. You couldn't have solar more than that 5%. And the state said, that's a hindrance, you can't do that. So now there is no limit on how many people in Chatham can have solar panels.
Which is what we'll see in the next page, which is the net billing policy.
So if you switch.
And if you look down what was originally section 7, that has been struck out there because the federal, or was it the state, said no more 5% caps.
Correct.
So, and that was really the only major change other than the net billing policy name to the net billing policy.
Well, is the net billing policy, is that part where it addresses their credits?
That is in the interconnection agreement, which is next. Okay. We actually had a very good interconnection agreement already that I've been using for these customers wanting to install these solar panels. So what I did was I just took some of the basic information that our supplier had given us, and I tweaked it a little bit. I didn't really strike anything out too much because I liked the way our agreement was written to begin with. Anything in blue is things that I added. So if we look at this first section here, the one thing that we do now is when, like, if you look at the third bullet point there, the application for interconnection will be $100. Right now, it only costs them $35 to get a permit. Well, that doesn't even cover the cost of the inspection. So basically what you've got here is you've got me inspecting the paperwork, Shane helping with inspecting the other specifics that go into the net metering agreement. You have, let's see, what else do you have? Oh, my electrical inspector has to do an inspection, and my electrical inspector also has to inspect certain portions of this paperwork that's turned in. So $100 actually would kind of cover some of the costs of that. $35 wasn't even covering the cost of inspection, which was $37. So were there any questions on any of that added language in that interconnection agreement?
One thing I didn't see is the rate at which you compensate somebody who's supplying the system.
Okay, yeah, let me.
You want me to go over that?
Well, let me go through this and then we'll do that. Is that all right, dude?
Sure.
Okay. So anyway, so then there was another section on page 3 that I added some more language, but this is more technical inspection language that me and Shane are going to go through. Some of it we'll use, and some of it's already in our agreement. We use the National Electric Code 2011 edition. Okay, well that covers some of what is on here already. So me and him just need to sit down and kind of sift through some of the specifics. And I had a few other things, but they're not major, and then Dewey, we can talk about your question.
The thing that on this is for residential, not for commercial. Okay?
Right.
So the goal is, Brett, you want to put solar on your house, you have a company come out, you show them your electric bill and how much usage you have, and then they size it for you. Okay?
Right.
So,
Right.
and the goal is 0.
Right.
You want to be able to make enough that you don't have to buy any electricity.
Correct.
You still need to pay to be hooked into our system, because there's going to be times when your solar panels aren't generating, and you're going to have to buy some from us. But you're hoping that the next day, you could generate enough
give back.
electricity, pay for the night before, and part of the next night.
Right.
Okay? You don't want to put a system in that you're making twice as much electricity as what you need, because our system does not allow you to bank or to walk away with cash. If you make 50 kilowatts at the end of the month, you only use 25, or at the end of the year,
Right.
let's say, and then you just lose that. So you bought a system that's too big, you're generating too much electricity, you're putting it back into our system, which is okay with us. But you're not getting your full bang for your buck. You paid way too much for solar panels. And no one pays for the extra.
And the one thing I noticed in it, and it's not a big deal, it was that we're referring to it as billing now, and we refer to it in one of the last paragraphs as metering.
Okay, that means I must have missed one.
Yep, only one, you did good.
But the way that works is our meters have 2 discs in it. When we're generating, one of them turns. When you're generating, the other one turns. In the end, we read them every month, and Jamie puts them into a spreadsheet, because the software right now for billing doesn't really work that well with solar. So we keep everything in a spreadsheet, and then every month you can see on your bill how much you're ahead or how much you've fallen behind. Say, for instance, you bought a system that is only 60% efficient. You should never ever expect enough electricity that your bill goes away. It could help. It's going to lower your electric
Right.
bill. But we've had people before, they get them installed in the warm months. They got sunlight all day long for a long period of time, and they're like, oh man, I'm raking it in, and I'm not having to pay an electric bill. And then November, December, January, February roll around, and they're like, what happened? That's the way that these things work. What we have done in the past is give them credit of 1-to-1. So what that means is if we buy electricity at 8 cents per kilowatt, if they generate electricity, we give them credit at 8 cents per kilowatt. That is not the new standard, it appears, in the solar industry.
And do you, so I have a surplus, I put way too many panels in. Is it when I cash out, so I sell my house and I want my money that I got extra, I won't get any? That's correct.
Month to month, you won't get any either.
Right.
Once the invoice
We
is
do it
cut,
once at the end of the year.
Okay,
your rollover minutes, you lost them.
right.
And now also, you need to
Great
be
analogy.
very careful when you're looking at your bill monthly, because even if you're paying just the minimum for, say, June, that's because, how did that work? That's because you didn't want to put any extra onto your bill. You were waiting till the end of the year, hoping that you were zero.
That it settles out.
When sometimes it won't be zero, it might be $1,000.
You mean budget billing? Is that what you're referring to?
No, this is.
You still have to know your system and know your bill. And in your first year as working with solar, it's a good thing to talk to the girls in the office a lot. Because if you don't want to get to the end of the year, you have to pay $3,000 or $2,000 or something like that. You need to stay in touch with them. Because if they can look and they can project out on what your system's been earning and when.
What you've done historically too.
And say, you know what, you probably need to start paying an extra $200 a month so that when you get to December 31st, we're pretty much even.
So if I'm at zero for the month, so I produced all my power.
If you're in the middle of the summer and you're at zero for the month, you're going to lose in the end.
Right. But
If
just
you're
say,
in the winter and you're zero for the month, you've probably got too big of a system.
don't we have a fee we have to pay for electric that's outside of, would we still pay that?
You still would pay the normal hookup fee.
Meter
Okay.
fee, yeah, $11 or something.
And that's the same whether you're all electric or solar and electric or whatever.
Got it.
The only thing that's really changing is right now,
We cap at 5.
The plan with us already in place, get a 1-to-1. We are proposing that from the day that they signed up, they get to keep that 1-to-1 for a 10-year period. And if they sell their house, whoever buys the house gets it for the remainder of that 10-year period. That's about the life expectancy of the solar. Well, actually, solar panels will last longer than that, but that's about how long it takes to pay off the system.
Get your money back.
Yeah. So we're going to build that into this. But anybody new coming in, they'll know right off the bat that the number that they will pay is what the industry calls the fair value.
Fair solar credit.
Yeah. So that could be 5 cents per kilowatt.
We don't know yet.
But IMEA has a way to be able to calculate that using where we are in the state, where we are in the United States, how much sun time we get, and they'll look at that. In 1 year, it might be 5 cents, the next year it might be 5.5, next year might be 6, could be 4. It'll jump around all over the place.
Yeah, so it won't be one number the whole time you own your system. Every year it could be different.
So we thought that was fair to the people that already had systems, that we weren't changing the game.
If the uptake for solar goes way up, will the other customers, the customers still on electric, have to pay more now because of the Prairie State plant that we've got a built-in factor for that?
They're still paying a flat fee.
Okay.
And they're still paying the fair value. I think from what our suppliers tell us, that's sufficient.
Okay.
Now, if everybody starts switching over to solar, we won't have to buy as much electricity from somebody else. Still need to have some, but.
Yeah, but we still have to pay off those bonds for
It'd be
that
a large-
plan.
Yeah, if it was a large scale across their
Okay.
entire customer base.
So if we had a
you could
bunch.
start- I think you could start seeing it, but.
And that's the nice thing.
Have to be pretty large.
Probably It's gotta be large.
This is
Which is the
limited
goal.
to residential customers, and you can't have a system, no matter how big the residence is, that's bigger than 25 kV. Which I
Which
can't
brings me
imagine, I can't imagine the mansion that you could put it.
Wayne Manor there in Breckenridge Manor.
Question for Greg. Even though this policy that we were modeling says 25 kilowatt hours maximum for these solar projects, can we cap that as a village at 10 or 15?
I would need to check the changes that just occurred to see if we're authorized.
You can't put a cap.
Well, no, we can't
Then we
cap
couldn't do
the total
25.
number.
Well, 25 is in the statute, but I don't know if, as a
I just
non-home
don't know,
municipality,
like,
we're
you know.
authorized to
Even go to that.
go lower than that. Like, say we want to cap it at 15.
So the solar billing credit, it's not in this agreement, right? Did I miss it?
It is not written in this, no, it is not.
Okay, I think,
But somewhere I think I'm gonna have to add fair solar credit so that they know what, even though I don't know what that number is, I'm gonna have to add that in somewhere so that when they read this policy, you know, it never says 1-to-1, because we never.
Are you,
right, I don't think it talks much at all about it, so I would suggest, yes, adding that, and then if we need to reference that rate on our public website, then I think that's the appropriate.
who determines the fair solar rate?
Sounds
Right
like,
now, we can use IMEA to do that. They
Okay.
said they would offer that to all of their customers. So we would request it, and then they would set it for that year. And it would be for a whole year.
So would the ordinance have to be fair solar rate as set by IMEA or?
That's probably how we do it. I'd want to see what IMEA, how they
Produce it.
would approach it.
And we thought of, instead of naming IMEA, we would put in there our electric supply.
Right.
That way if it changes.
Don't have to rechange an ordinance.
But, let's see. There's one other thing.
Was it insurance?
That's it. Our policy requires that the owners of the solar system have $1 million umbrella policy. We asked IMEA when they reviewed this, and they said that there's verbiage in there that says each community can take steps to make sure that their system is protected.
Yeah, so insurance, just so people here know, personal insurance wouldn't cover that. So a system that's not yours, you can't purchase a liability policy. You would have to purchase a commercial equipment breakdown policy. So if you had a solar policy, you could purchase an equipment breakdown policy, and then you'd have to name the Village of Chatham as the generator of that power. And if my system causes that system to go down, then my policy would pay. A personal policy just with an umbrella would not cover it. It'd be excluded.
In the agreement, there, what the village is calling for right now is $1 million per occurrence of liability insurance.
So I had, for instance, my umbrella, I have 3 million per occurrence, but there's exclusions, and power generated outside my house would be an exclusion.
But if this power is generated in your house.
But my power is for my house. So like if I have a home generator, it'd be excluded because it excludes artificial generation as well. And so if my system at home right now caused IMEA's plant to go down, something happened there, it wouldn't, my insurance won't pay. Now, will all the customers pay to fix that system? Sure. it'll get passed on, but your insurance won't answer, no matter how big an umbrella. You could say you have to have a 10 million umbrella in place, and it would be excluded.
So are we wasting our time having this in this policy?
If there's protections, if IMEA knows there's like, a staff that can stop any damage from going from them to us, that's where we should try to mitigate it.
So if your system's transfer switch fails, and Mike Smith is my lineman working on this cabinet over here, he gets sacked and blown up and loses his sight.
It's away from my premises. So what'll happen is it'll go on the power generation company, their insurance policy.
But isn't it the homeowner's system that caused his injury?
It doesn't mean that with insurance, it doesn't mean that the homeowner's still not liable. It's just not covered. So if you charged an appropriate premium, nobody would be able to afford the insurance.
Oh boy, okay.
That, and then on top of trying to keep track of every year making sure that person still had that policy in place would be.
I can well, that would be easy. They just give you a certificate of insurance. I'll confirm it, but that's my understanding.
Well, no, I mean, I'm glad you told me, because I mean,
Yeah.
I'm wanting this $1 million policy, and if I don't get it according to the, I can't approve you for a permit and all that. Well, it sounds like it's kind of a waste of time.
Let me check to make sure.
You guys didn't write our net metering policy. I think that came from John Myers. I think that was around long enough that John Myers wrote that. And he was the one that I think.
It was 2016, I believe.
It's got a document footer that looks like it's from our firm. Now, the date is 2022 on it, but.
Can you do a little research too?
Yeah,
whether that insurance policy thing is viable?
Well, one issue is, say you have somebody that shows up to their house and a solar panel becomes unhinged and falls off and crushes them, then it would be covered.
Absolutely.
That type of.
You're liable there.
Yeah. But yeah, I can look into that, and then I'll also confirm that we drafted the original policy. I really think we did.
What's his name? The guy that leads to Jeff?
The what?
Jeff? Was he there?
Yeah, Jeff would have been.
Maybe it was Jeff.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. You were one of the lucky ones. There wasn't a lot of change.
So we do have to have this in place by March 14th, so you'll see these changes coming up on the next board meeting. Probably will have.
We'll try to pass that at the end.
Oh, it has to be the 14th?
Ryan, I'll get you something pretty quick.
Okay.
It's sometime in March, I know.
Oh, okay, because I'm kind of shooting for April 1, but it has to be sooner. It is what it is.
It is. I got it. It's in my training guide that I went through. March 14th. March 14th, 2022.
That's your exclusions for your home.
Well, that's over a month. I mean, I guess that's what I'm worried about.
We should be able to have it.
So there's 12 common, it's a common.
And we do have people.
I would need to read the actual link.
One shit.
Every policy is different. So this is an ISO policy. Every homeowner's is based on an ISO policy. So I'll get you an ISO policy.
I'm glad I know that about the insurance now. That makes a lot of sense, and I just,
So see,
poor pain.
some homes
The changes are, you're gonna add the net solar credit, you're gonna add the
put here.
caveat for the grandfathered the customers that have 10 years from X date. And then, you'll review the insurance with, Captain
I'm
Insurance.
glad we talked about it, because that way, when I give you the new form, it'll be easy to, you'll know what we added and what we discussed.
Alrighty, are there any other questions for Ryan for item 3? Item 4 under new business is a revision to 158.033, adding section F. I think that's you too, Ryan.
It is. We had an incident where, over the last, I guess, a year or so, we had a guy who owned a house, and this was an R1 subdivision. Guy owned a house, and he was renting it out. That's the principal structure of the house. Also, it had a accessory building / garage in the back of the property that he was renting out to someone else. Well, I received a complaint about this. So I had talked to Greg about it, and I thought that the intent of our code is residential R1 is low density. But we didn't have anything specific in there that said you couldn't have an accessory building with somebody living in it and a principal structure with somebody in it.
2016.
So what I wanted to do was, under this 158.013 accessory building structures and uses, was add section F, because we didn't have anything that was this specific.
But the problem with the way that section F is written is it would eliminate all home businesses.
Yeah, like my father-in-law ran his automotive, he fixed cars and he did it out of his garage and he had it as a business.
I don't think we want to go that route. So I think what we really want to do is we just want to make sure that people that live in R1 single family, that there's one structure there and that's the only place you can live.
Is not being used.
Auxiliary structures. If you're going to have more than that, if you're going to have two structures on a piece of property and you want to be able to rent them both, you need to come in and get a zoning change and change it to R2 duplex, because essentially that's what it is. So you can address it that way.
Well, the way I read F, if I believe that F is the proposed new language, is, it's preventing me from using my detached garage as an office, where I think a lot of people are switching to work remotely, and I think that we shouldn't eliminate that opportunity.
Would you say detached or attached?
I said detached.
Okay, all right.
Either. I agree with what Dewey's saying here too. I think to address the concern on having two disparate family units into structures on a single R1 lot, you can make the change that says you can't use it as a separate, or maybe even go tighter that you can't use it as a dwelling establishment.
Rental
for an
property.
Unrelated property, or an unrelated, because, I mean, the moment I can get my kid into a different structure, that's still family.
I was thinking mother-in-law, but yeah,
It's the old mother-in-law apartment.
yeah.
But like you said though, if you had a mechanic shop and Bob had a great big 4-door garage on the back of his property on a large lot, you're living in the house and you're renting the garage out to Bob to run his garage out.
In
Sorry,
most,
you can't do that in Chatham.
Yeah.
If you live there, you could have your garage.
Actually, it's more specific than that when you talk about home occupations.
I think what we do is we strike this down to the spot where it's only talking about residences, clean that up and not do anything that limits any of the business use that people do. Most of the homeowners associations, if they want it in their neighborhood, controlled in a different way, they incorporate that into the HOA rules. And from my view, I suggest you let them do it at that level based on what their neighbors want, and not try to sweepingly ban it in any fashion.
So the owner of the property can use the accessory building for a business use.
Yes.
But he can't rent it to me to, paint paper airplanes or make paper airplanes or make whatever. You can't rent it to me.
I think we're saying that we're fine with that.
I think that's.
We just don't want you living in it.
Yeah, right, yeah. If you strike that, then you're not gonna have somebody living in a garage, which is what we want to avoid.
The world is changing. I mean, with so many people ordering stuff online and working from home, and so many people make things at their house now, and then they turn around and ship them out. If you turn around and try to stop that, I think that's the future of new business.
We've seen some of the opposite right here in Chatham, but we've seen businesses that launched out of a garage that have grown into the spot where they're now taking alternate commercial facilities in town and have expanded into those, so don't limit that.
Appliance,
Discount liquor.
No,
If I was a mechanic,
bakery.
like I said, told you the other day, I can't change oil in my living room. I'm gonna do it in the garage. That makes total sense, I get that.
All right.
We're good?
Alrighty. Item 5, new business, Public Properties and Recreation Committee discussion. There's no meeting since our last meeting, so no update there. Item 6, Utility Oversight Committee discussion.
We'll meet next week.
All right. Item number 7, are there any public comments regarding village business not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, scheduled meetings. We have a committee of the whole meeting, 6:15, Municipal Hall, February 14th. That's not right, is it? We don't have a committee of the whole meeting on February 14th, do we? Yeah.
That's the utility meeting. I have the wrong date?
No, I think that's maybe the utility. Well, I think it's just the wrong date. 6:15 would be our time, just not on that date. It's probably the beginning of March, folks. I don't believe
Oh, that's what it is. It's March.
I don't believe there are any reasons for closed session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Motion made by Mal, seconded by Charles. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, meeting adjourned.
On their property. Say he's opening, that's why.